people think about like the merger and the integration, but I want to tell you something that, and it relates actually to something that my co-founder and I did with a second venture. But something with Maite and Itzi was, we were having this conversation. It felt great, but this is going to be a big thing for us. And so we flew out to London because one of them had just moved to London to build out their European operations, even though they started in Mexico City. And we all did an exercise. So my head of strategy, the person running our organically built international efforts, myself, and then Maite and Itzi, and then my chief of staff facilitated this. But we all wrote a memo, and the memo was like, what's our vision for employment for small businesses, internationally? How would we see this integration coming together, including who would report to who? And if we do this deal, if we do this, we come together and it doesn't work out, why wouldn't it come out? Like write that, like imagine that failure. And we all wrote those and we shared those, and it led to a very vulnerable, open conversation about what each of our motivations were and what we wanted, and allowed us to kind of have those conversations around, okay, like we're 80% aligned, but 20% we're not. So let's just talk about that up front. How much do you care about that? I really care about this. You really care about that? Okay. So by having those conversations up front, we could have high confidence that then with the integration, we weren't going to have these self-inflicted wounds of being like waking up one day and being like, wait a second, I thought we were doing it this way. I thought it was doing it this way. And that's where you see a lot of these things fall apart. That exercise is something I picked up. I built part of that first company in Atlanta, and I was in an entrepreneurs group, and I learned about this visioning exercise that was really powerful for me because I had this co-founder for the first business, essentially a 10-year run. Then I stayed on at ADP for 2 years, and he left to go begin working on Euclidean. And then when he got something going, we were talking about teaming up again with Euclidean. And we did the same exercise. Despite being best men at each other's weddings, business partners for 12 years, we did the same exercise. Essentially, like, where do you want to be with what do you want out of this business? What do you want out of your life? Everything about, how we're going to approach things. And we wrote it separately and we compared it. And even though we knew each other really well, there were things that came out of that we were not totally aligned on. And we worked through those things up front. So I think for sure, if you are meeting someone at a meetup and you think you're meeting your co-founder and you don't have even 10 years of history, like it might be even more valuable to have those super open conversations up front to make sure that, you're going to be rowing in the same direction.